Welcome to everyone. This week video will cover the Bitcoin market for the week of September 29, 2025. Before we start, make sure you read carefully the disclaimer. On my last update, I was expecting the 18-month cycle peak to form on August. Since the August 14th all-time high at $124,517, the 18-month and the 40-week cycle entering downward phase. Let's see what we can expect for the near future. Let's start by the 18-month cycle. Despite the possibility of the $124,517 August high as the 18-month cycle peak, on the long-term basis the Bitcoin market still in bullish mood. The Bitcoin market still trading above his cycle line and his 18-month cycle trend line, the VTL. The 18-month cycle low is still expected to form in February 2026 on his cycle line, around $85,000, which will coincide with the 18-month trend line. Finding support on his VTL is crucial. A sharp cross below it will be bearish for the Bitcoin market. And will confirm the peak before the crossing, will be at least a 54-month cycle or 4.5 years cycle peak. Crossing below his cycle line before the February 2026 will be the first sign of potential bearishness for the Bitcoin market. Let's see now the 40-week cycle. Like mentioned in my last update, the last 40-week $125,882 upside target has been met on August 14th with $124,517 all-time high. This peak was scheduled for the second week of August 2025. By forming his peak on August 14th, the timing was very precise, which keep the success rate for trading the 40-week cycle at 100%. The low for this 40-week cycle is still expected mid-January 2026. Represented by the blue vertical dashed line. If the $124,517 peak is confirmed to be the 40-week peak, this peak occurred slightly on the left part of the cycle, then we can expect a sharp correction. Technically, the Bitcoin market should cross below his cycle line, providing a potential downside target. Here the cycle line and their potential target, if the Bitcoin market cross below his cycle line during the next few weeks. The blue trend line is the 40-week VTL. We have to watch carefully the Bitcoin market reaction when he will approach it. A sharp cross below will confirm the peak before the crossing is at least the 18-month cycle peak. Since there is a very high probability of the $124,517 high as the 18-month cycle, we can expect the Bitcoin market to cross below his 40-week cycle trend line, or VTL. Let's see now the next lower cycle, the 20-week. The August 14th $124,517 high was the 20-week cycle peak, and with a length of 21 weeks, the low formed on September 1st. From the April 20th week cycle to the September low, I draw the 20-week cycle trend line, the VTL. When the Bitcoin market will cross below it, this will confirm the August high is the 40-week peak. Last week, the Bitcoin market crossed slightly below his cycle line at $113,447. Before this signal become valid, we need confirmation. If this week the Bitcoin trade well below his cycle line, this will the confirmation and we can validate the $102,437 downside target. Last week, the Bitcoin market also found support on his VTL, the green trend line. If the market crossed below it, this will be the second confirmation of the new downtrend for the next few weeks. Any sharp crossing back above his cycle line will invalidate the signal and the Bitcoin market will resume his uptrend. The peak for the next 20-week cycle is expected around November 3rd. And the low on January 5, 2026. With two positive trading signal, the 20-week cycle maintain 100% success rate. The 80-day cycle. The last August 18th downside trading signal met his $111,965 target 2 days later. The September 1st is the last 80-day cycle low. Having said that, what can we expect for the new 80-day cycle? The September low is the second 80-day cycle since the April 6th 40-week low. Technically, after forming his second 80-day cycle low on September 1st, the Bitcoin market should cross back above his cycle line and provide a new upside target. Here the cycle line and their potential upside target if the Bitcoin market cross above it during the next trading days. The purple line from the June low to the September 1st low is the 80-day trend line or VTL. A crossing below it will confirm officially the 20-week peak formation on August 14th. We can start to see some weakness in the market. As mentioned above, after the second 80-day cycle formation and after a 40-week low, the market should cross above his 80-day cycle line. Lately the market rebound found resistance on the cycle line and resumed his decline. By analyzing the 20-day cycle, we can estimate how much weakness there is in the 80-day cycle Bitcoin market. The peak for the actual 80-day peak is expected to form on October 4th, and should form above his cycle line. If the peak occur below his cycle line, more trouble still to come for the Bitcoin market. The low is scheduled for November 9th, the vertical purple dashed line. What next? On a balance market like mentioned early, the Bitcoin market should cross above his cycle line after the second 80-day cycle low. Then for the third and fourth cycle, the market should cross below his cycle line and stay below until the 80-day cycle is completed on January 19, 2026. The 40-day cycle. According to the Hurst rule of synchronicity, the September 1st low is also the 40 and 20-day cycle low. On August 19, the Bitcoin market provided a 102,483 downside target. On September 1st, 8 days early than expected, the Bitcoin market formed a low, which should be the 40-day cycle low at 107,270. Missing his target by $4,787. Usually this is bullish sign. Especially after forming his low, the Bitcoin market crossed back above his cycle line at 114,273, providing a new $121,003 upside target. With a 117,968 high on September 18th. The market formed his 40-day cycle peak, right at the peak of the cycle. The low is expected for October 5th. Technically, the Bitcoin market should form his low on his cycle line. On Friday, September 26, the Bitcoin market crossed below the cycle line at 111,357, providing a 104,746 potential target. Since I recorded this video on Friday morning, we need the crossing confirmation by the end of the day. As reminder, to get a valid signal, we need the median price of the day, week, or even monthly crossing below or above the cycle line. In the case of the 40-day cycle, we need to wait for the end of the day to see where the median price will be at the closing bell. If the crossing is confirmed, then the 104,746 downside target become valid. To invalid the trading signal, the Bitcoin market have to cross back above his cycle line during the weekend. Sometime when a market crossed below his cycle line for only one day. The crossing may be due to some news. We always have to take some crossing with a grain of salt. And do not jump into the market blindly, it is always better to wait for a confirmation. The success rate of the 40-day cycle is 66%. On my website tradingmarketcycles.com, I have a short-term trader corner, for the trader who are interesting to trade, for example the 20-day cycle. This cycle have a very high success rate percentage. In conclusion, Bitcoin's multiple cycles are all pointing toward continued weakness in the short term. While the long-term trend remains positive, several cycle peaks formed in August suggest lower prices ahead. Key support levels around $85,000 for the 18-month cycle and $104,746 for the 40-day cycle represent important tests. If Bitcoin holds these levels, the bullish long-term outlook stays intact. However, breaking below major trend lines would signal deeper corrections. Traders should watch for confirmation signals and avoid making hasty decisions based on single-day price movements. For more details, visit tradingmarketcycles.com. If you found this helpful, please like and share this video, subscribe to stay updated with my weekly trading insights. Thanks for watching, see you next week.